Now let us move along to our next guest. Big week for him last week. His guy, Johnny Bones, 15-month suspension. He is back as of October 28th. He is the one and only Malki Kawa. He joins us now on the phone. Malki, how are you? You like that read? Got sponsors now, baby. GDP rolling in that dough.
Hey, listen, congratulations, buddy. You're doing your thing.
Thank
Can't
you.
complain when that happens.
I know you would appreciate that. Malki, congratulations
All right,
on a big week. Are you happy with USADA? I should say the arbitrator's decision, 15-month suspension. Are you happy? Are you content with this?
I mean, considering the circumstances and what it, how this whole thing was playing out, yes, because it's basically done and over with. In reality, I think, it should have never happened in the first place. You know what I mean? It just to me, I keep saying it I think that, first off, let me just say this. I think USADA did an excellent job of really investigating the circumstances around this situation. I think they did a very thorough, deep dive into everything. You know what I mean? And everyone around and the whole nine and all that. And I said it from day one. I said Jon was innocent. I said Jon didn't cheat. He doesn't cheat. I know this to be a fact. So I knew that we were going to get a good result at the end of the day anyway. But at the same time, you know what I mean? I think the one flaw that this system has is that if you're not, intending to cheat, if you took a tainted supplement, or if there's, some circumstances in the, to me, this should be about the cheaters and the guys who are trying to get an advantage, not the people that are, that take a substance that they think is clean or that is clean, let's say, based on the label and all that, and then it turns to be tainted or contaminated or something, and then guys get punished. And that's where, I have a problem with this program. But other than that, you know what I mean? Because in my mind, listen, it's the same thing as if you said, hey, man, this guy was accused of murder and he got out of 15 months. Are you happy and content with that? It's like, hey, listen, instead of the life sentence he was looking at, absolutely. Yeah. But he should have never been, in jail in the first place. And that's kind of like, where I'm at. But I have to give, USADA some leeway on this one. It took a long time. And I think, that's why this is just, played out as long as it did. Because if they would have been able to conclude this 8 months ago, I think we would have been looking at an 8-month suspension, 1 year suspension, and calling it a day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Why did it take so long?
There was just a lot to it. They had to really be thorough in a lot of the things that they did. You know what I mean? So everything was being looked at, and I appreciate it actually, because there was a lot of different things that they had to look at to make sure that it was what we were telling them and what Jon was doing, or the things that they were finding out were actually the truth.
Okay, so this is the second time that you go to arbitration with Jon, and both times seems like a pretty favorable result. Although, as opposed to the first time, this one was very hush-hush. You posted one picture in hindsight that we come to realize was the day that you guys were there, but you didn't publicize it. You didn't want to make a big deal until after. Why did you guys do it so under the table?
Well, because a lot of the time, people don't understand that USADA isn't so. It's not like there's really no rhyme or reason for a lot of the things that get done, right? So, like, in other words, here's a suspension, and then you can work it back down based on. So if you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. It's not the other way around, right? So it's not like you go in and you explain the whole situation, and then somebody comes up and says, all right, well, for this offense, I think this person should have, a 3-month suspension. It's basically you get caught on this, it's 2 years. Second time, it's 4 years. Third time, it's lifetime. And you have to work backwards. So when you go into the media, and I'm very deliberate when I do that, you know what I mean? I did it earlier on when I said, hey, listen, if USADA is a respectable organization, you know what I mean? I think that, they'll find Jon innocent. If this is really a fair process, he'll be innocent. I know him to be innocent. And this, I think, I don't remember who was that asked me, said, what percentage chance do you think we'll see him by the end of the year? I said 95%. And the whole world went crazy. It went down, on the bottom of ESPN, and everybody was like, holy crap, this guy's, saying something that at that moment, I was really just going off of my gut instinct on the fact that I know that Jon Jones is innocent. So I always knew in my heart that it would come out at some point. But when you start getting into the media and you start kind of using the media to put pressure, you can get an arbitrator that can sit there and look at it and say, well, yeah, you might be right, but I'm not going to fold because the media is saying that he's going to come back. So I just decided just to take the quiet route this time and just let it play out. I just knew in my heart it was the best way to go.
Okay, so as you know, and I think you addressed this a little bit, a lot has come out over the fact that he got a massive reduction in his suspension because it seems as though there's an agreement that he would either give information up about other people in the future or has given up information. People have called him a snitch, a rat, all these things and more. Can you clarify this?
Yeah.
Did this actually happen?
No, so I'm not going to get into the details of that, because I feel like, what I'd be doing by doing that is giving more credence to the people who started these rumors. John's going to end up doing an interview very soon, and John can sit there and explain everything that happened in this whole thing. Me coming out and just, I can just tell you without a shadow of a doubt that John did not tell on any teammate. John did not tell on anyone in MMA. John did not do anything that these people are saying he did. So all this, he's a snitch and all that stuff, I can just tell you right now, we can put it to bed. He did not do that. So there's other things that took place in here. There's other things that John did with himself. There's things that USADA and the arbitrator and everyone involved, you know what I mean, got from John about John that they had never had before. So, there's a lot of things that took into consideration. So in reality, Ariel, when people sit here and just want to, spew off because they use the term substantial assistance, and then they immediately said, oh, he's telling on someone, it's 1,000% false. John did not do that.
Okay, and what about in the future? Like, is there an agreement to work with them on other things, on giving information about other people? How does that go?
Again, I'm not too, a lot of people were saying that was what was reported in there, and this was the thing that he had to do or not do. To be honest with you, I'm not sure about that part. You know what I mean? So I don't know where that came from or anything to that effect. The thing is, if it's on, steroids and all this other stuff they're talking about, John doesn't have any information about that stuff. So, the funny thing about that whole thing was they're saying, because, somebody tweeted something to the effect of like, anybody at Jackson's better be, scared. And when I saw it, I started laughing because it's not like John sits in a room somewhere and watches people do steroids and then he was like, hey, man, guess what? My teammate over here is doing steroids. He doesn't do that. John goes, he trains, gets his stuff, and he goes home. You know what I mean? Doesn't take a shower there. He doesn't really hang out there. He comes in, he does his thing, and he leaves. So he doesn't really, sit there and hang out like that or would know about anyone that does that. So when people sit there and say these things, to me, it's just like it's a funny thing. I just have to go back and look at the agreement and understand what they mean by that. So I'm assuming if John's name was to come up in something and he was to know something, he would have to, you know what I mean, be cooperative with them.
Yeah.
But it was I don't know of a deal where it's like, hey, we're going to continue to do this. I don't know about that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that's not how it went down. So again, I don't want to assume anything or say something wrong. I don't want this to turn into a disaster now all of a sudden. But from what I understand, a lot of the stuff that they're talking about had to do with him, not with other people.
Do you have any idea where it came from at this point? Because I know in February when you met with California, he didn't know. And my understanding from reading it, still don't know. And they believe that he didn't take anything knowingly. They explicitly say that he didn't try to cheat, etc. But have you pinpointed that supplement or whatever else was in his system that led to this?
I mean, we have an assumption on some stuff, but we don't have a pinpoint thing. I think one of the biggest things that helped us in this situation was the fact that the amount of this stuff that was in his system was equivalent to taking a pinch of salt and throwing it into an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So there was no advantage gained. You follow where I'm coming from? There was no signs of doping. He passed all his other tests. So to be honest with you, Ariel, it was such a small amount. It could have been anything. And that's the crazy thing about it. It could have been something that was put on his food. It was something that could have been in a supplement that one particle of it was contaminated. You never know what it could have been. So I don't want to speculate. We have an assumption. We just don't know for sure. That's just really what it is. How
do we avoid this now? How do we avoid this never happening again? What are the steps that are being taken to avoid that?
Well, what's surprising is that if you go back and read the arbitrator's award letter, we actually put a lot of steps in place, right? So everything John took, we researched the labels, we sent them to Jeff Nowitzki. Jeff Nowitzki gave us the green light, red light. And when I say green light, red light, I know there was another part in there that said, USADA approved as opposed to being, high risk versus low risk. So to make it simple for a lot of our clients, what we'll say is, hey, this is approved to be taken. Like, in other words, it's been approved through the channels, the proper channels. Nothing is guaranteed 100% safe. Even the stuff with the check mark on it, the Informed Sport or the whatever, I don't remember the two names of the companies that do the third-party testing. That doesn't really guarantee you anything, right? So what you're showing when you do these things is that your degree of fault in a case is very low because you're trying your best not to have this happen. And that was something that John was able to do in his in this thing. So he hired a nutritionist who came with 1,000 different certifications, degrees, everything there. Everything he took was looked at by us first, then by Jeff Nowitzki. Everything came back as safe to take, right? And Jon didn't do any of the other stuff that he's done in the past, like the over-the-counter pills and stuff like that. So everything that we know to do, he did, and this thing still happens. You follow where I'm coming from? Mm-hmm. So going forward, outside of him not just taking any supplements at all, you know what I mean? We're hoping that everything we're going to go down the same thing again. We're going to use stuff that's third-party tested. We're going to put the protocols in place. He knows not to take anything without letting us know about it first. We obviously send it to Nowitzki and the people over at the control stuff at that control the USADA program at the UFC, and have them review just so it's a second set of eyes. Get it in writing that, hey, this is a low-risk supplement, because there's still a level of risk by taking supplements. Even if it's just fish oil, there's still a level of risk. So, and then we just go from there.
One of the interesting byproducts of this whole thing has been people saying, you know what, USADA, I'm done with you. Daniel Cormier saying, I'm done with you. And I've always thought that, yes, it's great to have drug testing, but the fact that the fighters never had a say in any of this, 24/7, 365, the whereabouts, all that and more, is problematic. There's no collective bargaining. As one of the most powerful managers in the game, as someone who works with a lot of very important and successful NFL players and building that business as well, is it time for the fighters to take a hard look at the USADA deal in the UFC?
Yeah, but I mean, you see, Ariel, it's just like every other situation with the UFC. Whether it's money, whether it's insurance, whether it's USADA, whether it's ranking system, there's always, you get the majority of so when it first came out, the majority of the fighters were, oh my God, this is great, we're going to clean up the sport, blah, 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 right? And then everybody wanted to just give everybody the death penalty. Yoel Romero was the very first one, right? Just, he's cheating, look at his body, he's 40 years old, it's impossible, it has to be cheating. And then we go down that route with USADA. His case is one case that I regret not taking to arbitration.
Who, Yoel?
Knowing what I know today, knowing what I know today, Yoel would have probably gotten time served, or, an extra month on top of whatever month we were at that day. USADA went and tested this. We tested his supplement, right? It was tainted with the thing that he popped for. USADA went to the manufacturer and bought it directly from them. Not like I gave them more product. They went and bought bottles on their own, and it was contaminated then as well. And originally, until we hired a lawyer, right, they were trying to hit us with a year, and then it was 7 months, 8 months, and then when we got Howard Jacobs involved, it turned to 6 months. And, going through that experience, having to go to arbitration, the way the arbitration is set up to where you got to pay all these things and do all this different stuff to make this thing happen, right? For a fighter that doesn't make the money Jon makes, that's very hard to do. So you get a guy like Yoel Romero, and he just wants to get out of the situation because you watch your reputation get ruined, all these other things. So there's things about this program that I've voiced to not only the UFC but to USADA themselves that need to be changed. And I honestly believe that now with the Jon Jones situation, you're right, there's going to be some look at this program to see how they can better do this to where it positively affects the fighters as opposed to negatively affect them. Because here's the thing, people could say what they want to say, right? If you get caught cheating, you get caught cheating. It is what it is. And I've always been a guy that said that if a guy is cheating, is intentionally cheating, he should have the book thrown at him. Forget a year or 2 years, just throw the book at him, then that's fine. If you want to cheat, that's on you. That's a risk you take. But when you get a guy, and the thing is, people are like, well, just don't take supplements. The thing is, this isn't a football player that practices for an hour and a half out on the field a day. Most of these guys are training 4 times a day, every single day of the week except Sunday. And some guys are going all the way through Sunday. So when you talk about you go to a sparring session, then you go to a wrestling practice, then you go to strength and conditioning, and then you come back for kickboxing at night, and you're doing that every single day, or 3 sessions a day, every single day, your body needs food. Your body needs extra stuff. There's only so much you can eat. There's only so much you can really do. So for someone to say, well, just don't take supplements, I get it. For a lot of people, it's just the easy solution. And if you're able to do that, and your body still feels well, then you should do that. And I advise all my clients to do that. But in reality, right, this is a sport where supplements are going to be a part of it. So, you know what I mean? I wish that USADA would look at the companies more. I wish the government would take a look at some of these nutrition companies more, see where this product is coming from. A lot of the protein shakes that we take, us just like you and I or whatever it is, some of this stuff is sold to us by American companies, but the product is made in China, just like, almost everything that we get here in America now. So you never know what you're getting. And that's the sad thing about it, is that you can be taking a pill to supposedly, lubricate your joints, like fish oil or something to help you lose weight, in a natural way. And it ends up having all types of other byproducts. So, you know what I mean? And the crazy thing about it is that what Yoel took, in his case, right, the thing that he took was for him to help him reduce the swelling in his body. and it ended up what he popped for ends up doing the complete opposite. And they still gave him 6 months, and he missed the title shot and lost out on a payday and all that other stuff against Bisping, who I don't think anybody in the world would have ever picked Bisping over him. I think everyone knows that probably would have knocked him out and probably would have been the full-on champion instead of having his story written the way it ended up happening. So when you go to people and you tell them, hey, what's up with this and why this? Oh, it's a deterrent. We want to make sure that the fighters understand. But your job is not to sit here and make examples out of guys who are not cheating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been cases in USADA's history where other athletes from other sports drank water. The water was contaminated, and they pop for something that's in the water. Or, you know what I mean, they eat the beef in Mexico, and that's, clenbuterol. And then, there's a massive thing. You go to Mexico, don't eat the beef there. So, I mean, you just never know where something can come from, and it's a shame that people that are getting punished for these things, right, are being punished for these things. You follow where I'm coming from?
No, I understand.
Get a guy who passes all these drug tests, and then you have one test where, I mean, I don't know if you read the thing. We all know what a kilogram is and a gram and you know what I mean? But was there a picogram or something like that? I never heard of that. We're talking about 1/10 of 1 millionth. They said it's like taking a pinch of salt and throwing it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's how much of the stuff he had in the system. And then, he's a cheater. And so that's the problem I have with it. It's that you put out all this information. There's no research into it. It's just immediate. For transparency's sake, we're just going to say this guy is suspended because, until further notice. By then, it's already done. Reputations are ruined. Everything is a disaster.
When this news came out, everyone under the sun said, October 28th, perfect. November 3rd is MSG. Dana White has said multiple times he's not fighting on the MSG card. Could you tell us, is Jon Jones fighting on the MSG card?
No, he's not. Not as of right now. We're still working on some stuff. And
you said not as of right now. Is there a chance he fights on it?
No, probably not. I mean, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. Probably not. But, I mean, we're working on different dates and different things. So, we're hoping to see him as soon as possible. I mean, obviously, he wants to get back in there. We want him to get back in there, and I know he's excited to get back and fight. So,
is it possible December 8th pay-per-view, December 29th? Is it possible 2018?
Yeah, it's. I mean, listen, I would love to see it happen, but I can't tell you for sure right now. Like, we're still working through a lot of different things. Remember, he's been out for a year and change, and there's a lot of different things that happen. And before that, he fought and he was out for a year and change before that. So, you know what I mean? There's some stuff we still got to work through and get to a happy medium from both sides. But yeah, I mean, listen, we should hopefully the next couple of weeks get something resolved and get a date, either at the end of this year or beginning of next year, something like that. So
if you and Jon had your way, who's the first opponent?
I mean, listen, at this point I don't think Jon cares. I think Jon wants his light heavyweight belt back. So the person that has that is Daniel Cormier, and I think if you ask Jon, he would say, listen, whoever's holding that belt is the guy that I don't want to fight right away. I mean, listen, he beat DC twice already. You know what I mean? The second time was worse than the first time. So, for him to get up to fight DC again, it has to be for the belt. If DC doesn't have it, then, he's probably going to fight whoever is the next one in line to get to that belt or have that belt. And that's just, I think, what happens. So I would have to assume at this point it's either going to be Daniel Cormier or it could be potentially Alexander Gustafsson.
Yeah.
Just all depends.
Gustafsson's coming up next. We know he wants that fight. Is there a chance? DC doesn't seem interested at the moment.
I think that you have to look at what happens with Cormier first and figure out what Cormier wants to do. Cormier made it clear the other day that he wasn't fighting him, that he has a fight with Brock, and he did what he did. Remember that whole interview he did about USADA and all that stuff. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. There's a lot. Like that's why I said there's a lot of moving parts. So just to throw out November 3rd, I don't think it's fair to anyone, including Cormier, to just be like, hey, you're going to now do this. And Cormier might be like, hey, I'm fighting Brock. So there's some things there that are working that we have to figure out still.
To the best of my knowledge, UFC still doesn't have a main event for UFC 230. You have a lot of clients. Are they banging on your door for people other than Jon Jones?
I mean, listen, my clients are banging on the door to try to get on that card and fight. So who knows? We'll see. Like in the next couple of days, I'll have a good clarity on if one of my clients will be on that card. It won't be Jon, but it could be someone else. So we'll see.
Well, it's not going to be Tyron, right? Because Tyron told me he's having surgery.
Then it might not be Tyron then. Then it might not have anybody. I don't want to tell you. Tyron was the only other one that could have possibly done it. So we'll see. I'm not ruling anything out because it just all depends on certain things. But I mean, Tyron can do it. Jon can do it. You never know. But as of right now, I don't have anyone booked for a fight November 3rd.
Okay. Before I let you go, break some news right now. Anything. What do you have?
I don't have a thing, brother. I don't have a thing.
You've given us enough. You're kind enough. This is great stuff. Thank you, Malki. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. And congratulations to you and Jon on getting this done.
I appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. There he is, the one and only Malki Kawa stopping by. 15 months for Jon Jones. I say that's a victory. A lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. And a lot of people thought he'd return at MSG. Certainly the stars would seem to align. He says, as of right now, not happening. We shall see.